Stream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
I'm interested. I'm somewhat confused, but an ominous start to the JP Peterson Show.
You shouldn't be confused.
Do I feel the presence? I don't feel the presence of Darth Vader, but
that's the Tampa Bay Rays and their mighty offense.
Oh,
walking
my
in the building
goodness.
right there.
Well, the Evil Empire has always been associated with some other club, but now we're saying it's the Rays.
It's the Rays, baby.
The Rays are the Evil Empire.
The Evil Empire. Those who love to hate them in the MLB.
I don't know if it quite fits. I mean, I think we're more of the underdog rebel.
Well, I'm gonna be
rebel
honest.
fighters.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you.
What?
That's not why I played the music.
Okay. Why did you play?
It's May the 4th, JP.
Oh, it's May the 4th. Okay. I did not know that.
I had to connect it there.
Yes.
I connected it there just a little bit, but it's May the 4th.
The Rays are definitely not the Evil Empire. May the 4th be with you. Oh, great.
Maybe there's a happy Star Wars song I could have played, but I'm not up to date with my Star Wars.
No, that's you gotta play that one right there. So I am your Yoda of all things Tampa Bay sports. So good morning, and it's an interesting day to be a Tampa Bay fan, as we got lots of good stuff to talk about today. The Rays win again. 8-1, and only the Rays could do it the way the Rays did it. Calling up some 35-year-old has-been that was supposed to pitch in a AAA game in Louisville to come pitch for the Rays, and not that it was a necessarily super high leverage situation, but the dude comes in and pitches. I mean,
what did I tell you the day before? I said, here comes Chase Anderson, who's been in the big leagues for a long time. And he's kind of flamed out in recent years, and now he's 35, and he's going to come in, and I bet you he's going to have an ERA below 2. I bet you, and then he goes 3 shutout innings.
Well, so there is some type of Yoda thing, Obi-Wan Kenobi thing going on with the Rays pitching. Whatever it is, they put some force out there and take these broken down, has-beens. I mean, it's crazy. What the Millennium Falcon? They're all like the Millennium Falcon somehow becomes this super crazy, amazing ship every time, right? Mm-hmm. It's like what the Rays do with their pitching. They just go find broken down old rust buckets and make them into serviceable, very good, at the speed of light, amazing fighters. And here we go. So we connected it in some way. May the 4th be with you. Yeah, so we're going to talk some Rays baseball this morning. We're going to talk some Bucs football as well, with all of our champagne problems that we have.
Shout out to Larry Foote for having like the soundbite of $1 of the offseason.
Yes.
Shout out to Larry Foote for that.
How do you think that made Devin Whitefield? Did he put a champagne glass on his Instagram? I think that would have been a nice little rebuttal from him.
Was he blasting T Swizzle last night?
He may have been blasting T Swizzle. I doubt it very seriously, but. If I'm not mistaken, she played that. She doesn't normally play that song.
Did she play it when you were there?
Yeah, she played it. They trade out 2 like acoustic songs every concert to just liven it up, so people, because of course everybody knows what the set list is. Everybody knows everything about the concert before they even get there, so the surprise is gone. We ruin everything, right? But she does trade out a couple of songs, and that was the one she did. She did Champagne Problems acoustically on the piano. It was a really good song, by the way.
I've never heard the song.
Yeah, really good song. Really good song. So maybe I don't know if Larry Foote and his girls were at the concert, but he definitely was on board with that. And if I'm Devin White, if I have Bruce Arians, obviously he's not his head coach anymore, but saying, hey, yeah, you want $20 million a year, go earn it. And then your position coach, your guy, the coach that's probably closest to you, says, hey, man, that's Champagne Problems. Go out and earn it. I mean,
We should give that extra $8 million that Devin White wants, and we should give it to Larry Foote for having the most honesty from a coach in this building.
Indeed. That didn't come out of Todd Bowles' mouth.
No,
You're right.
It did not.
You're right. So, I totally agree, and I think it set the record straight. And maybe, and here's the thing. For Devin, how do you come back, to the OTAs and hang out with your teammates and do all this stuff? I know guys treat it like, okay, that's your money. That's the way you're going to play it. But this just seems so, out of whack. He's not – you're not that guy. I think he thinks he's that. This is the problem. This is the problem when you go to the mic and the podium when Warren Sapp is, putting out tape on your captain who's loafing on the field, and, there are other issues with his play, and you go to the podium as a head coach and you defend him to the hilt. Well, that gives him a false sense of confidence that, when he hears Todd Bowles say, yeah, he's our best defensive player, which I'd say he's at least third on the team, if not fourth. If you're best defensive player, though, maybe that's why he thinks he's worth $20 million. Maybe that's why he thinks he should be traded. Maybe that's why he's getting disrespected at $11.7 million.
Think about that.
Levante David's making $4 million guaranteed this year.
Think about that statement. We have a player that's about to make $12 million essentially this year, and we're really upset about that. We feel really disrespected about $12 million.
Disrespected. Yeah.
As a 25-year-old.
That's not good enough.
There's a 25-year-old who has holes all in his game. Disrespected.
Mm-hmm. But I can't, you shouldn't use your platform to tear other people down.
I apologize. Sorry.
You shouldn't do that.
I shouldn't do that. You're right. You're
we
right.
should come on here and praise him and say how awesome he is. And look, the dude, what he did in Seattle, or not in Seattle, but in Germany for the Seattle game after his father passed, that was superhuman.
Yes.
That was his best game. That was amazing. But that's the Devin White we want to see every week. And if you want to be a $20 million player, that's who you got to be every single week, not just 1 week. That's not how the league works. And he's got to become more consistent. And he's got all of it in him. He's got all the athletic ability he needs. And, we've said this many times, his game has not improved in those areas. You want to see a guy, especially a $20 million player, who comes into the league, who's really good, obviously a huge part of their Super Bowl run, but you want to see his game improve as it goes on. Get better at your weaker areas. Spend that time in the offseason to get stronger, improve your technique, do all those things. That's how you get to the next level. Michael Jordan came in, he was a mediocre shooter at best, but had the greatest athletic talent in the game. He made himself into a great shooter. He made himself into a tenacious defender. He made himself into the best player in basketball. He had the talent and he had the will, but you have to bring it all together. And you have to continue to improve your game and work on your game. Like Derek Brooks said, he treated every season like he had to come in and make the team every year. And that's how he treated the offseason. I got to get better. I got to get stronger. I got to get faster. I got to keep going. I got to keep going. Does that look like what Devin White's been doing with his game? No.
And if you want to be the leader of a team and you want to be a $20 million player, in my opinion, I think you need to show up. You need to show up with your team.
Yeah.
You need to be there. Because things are going to change on that defense this year. It's not going to be the same thing the way it was last year and the year before that. Todd Bowles is going to want to evolve things a little bit, and he has to, quite frankly.
Yes.
You're Devin White. You're the guy. Be in the building. There's nothing benefiting Devin White from sitting at home, because eventually, if he continues to hold out, well, what's going to happen? He's going to get fined, right? So now you're losing money, the precious money that you're complaining about right now.
Right.
You're going to lose that, and you're not going to learn everything you need to know, and you're not getting better.
I don't understand. I don't know who his agent is or what his agency is, but if this is the advice that his agents were giving him, it's terrible advice. If it's something that he really feels internally that he needs to do and scrub your social media, demand a trade, all that, all those stuff, all those posts that he put out saying goodbye to Bucs fans and then rescinded it saying it was just some other stuff, which was a lie. I mean, that's don't insult the intelligence of everybody around you. By doing that. And it's a lot of PR missteps for a guy that's, should be trying to prove himself even more to get to that next level. So I don't see, and this is going to be something that you really need to watch, because I think it's going to tell you a lot about Todd Bowles. Is Todd Bowles going to continue to coddle this guy and make excuses for him and not call him out when his defensive coordinator calls him out for the champagne problems? That's incongruent. That does not fit. It's not a good look. And as much as we love Todd Bowles, these are the things as a head coach that he needs to be better at. He needs to hold guys accountable and not give them false confidence or false bravado that they should be asking. I'm not saying Todd Bowles told him to do this. I'm just saying when you go out in front of a podium and you defend a player who's clearly not doing what he should be doing, that everybody on your team is looking at that. All of the players are looking at it going, what are we talking about here? You know, and then that's where the accountability, they lose faith in the head coach, they lose faith in the system, and everything goes haywire. And you saw a lot of what you saw last year, guys not on point. Not, you know, you created a culture, Bruce Arians did, and Todd Bowles did too. He was a big part of the staff that won a Super Bowl. There was accountability on every level. When guys made mistakes, they were called out for it publicly and privately, and the mistakes weren't as prevalent. Last year, it was the exact opposite. So if Todd Bowles is to be successful as a head coach, to me, that's one of the main things he's got to work on. He's got to start drawing those lines in the sand, because once you let one guy get away with it, or two guys or three guys get away with it, everybody sees it, and it takes the accountability and the lack of discipline just starts.
Yeah, and I know everybody wants
snowballing.
to compare his situation to Roquan White or Roquan Smith rather.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, Roquan Smith didn't get what he wanted right away.
Right.
He had to come back and play
Right.
for Chicago. I think he played 8 games last year before he was dealt at the trade deadline. So maybe eventually he got it, but even when he went to Baltimore, they didn't sign him.
Nope.
They didn't trade for him and said, okay, here's your $20 million contract.
Nope. You still had to play under it.
Still had to play under it.
That's what I'm saying. You got no leverage
There's
here.
no leverage
And
for
you don't
Devin
have
White.
any leverage because you just doubled or almost tripled your pay. So that's the give and take in the CBA. Yeah, you get that 5th-year option, but it's going to bump up to what basically you would have made in the first year of free agency anyway. So it's kind of like a little bit of arbitration. It's not quite market value, though. And, of course, when you get the new deal, you get the guaranteed money, which is the bigger number, $50, $60, $70 million, whatever it's going to be. I think Roquan got 50 guaranteed. So to me, it doesn't help you from a leverage standpoint at all. If you don't play, you're not going to make any money. If you beef about it, you look like a malcontent and your trade value goes down, and you piss off the players that your team you're with. It's just not a good strategy on any level. If you really want to make the $20 million, then you say the contract extension that the Bucs are giving you. You say, thank you very much. I appreciate the offer. It's not quite what I'm looking for, so I'm going to go out and ball out this year. And I mean, imagine if he comes out instead of does all that childish stuff on Instagram and says, here, dear Buccaneer fans, we've been trying to work on a long-term extension with the Buccaneers. We didn't quite come to an agreement on what it is. So I have very high aspirations to be the $100 million player. So I'm going to play on this 5th-year option and ball out and go earn that money and show everybody in the NFL I'm the best linebacker in football. And then hopefully we can after this season the Bucs will and we can come to an agreement that I feel is worthy, and I can earn it, or I'll hit the open market. I mean, what fan wouldn't just get excited about that, right? What the other teams in the league would be like, wow, this guy's all right, he's putting it out there on Front Street. Let's go. And your team rallies around it. Positivity, right? We got lots of positivity going here. Everybody's, not quite what I wanted in my contract, but you know what? That's fine. If we don't agree, I'll just go out and show you how much better and that I am worth it. Mm-hmm. And if you don't pay me, somebody else will. I would applaud that. That's not ditching on your team. That's just saying, okay, we have a real disagreement on what my worth is. Okay, then I'm just going to go out and prove it. I'd be like, let's go, Devin. Let's go. Instead, everybody's doing what? Going, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're decreasing your value dramatically, not only with the Buccaneers, but with every other team in the league. And what happens if you go out and get hurt this year? God forbid. We don't want that, Devin. But if you do, then you just look like a malcontent who didn't play to his potential. You ain't getting anything from anybody, not of any substance. You're going to have to go out and prove it again, coming off an injury. So whoever's representing him or whoever came up with this strategy, that is an epic fail on every level. You could have taken it to a different direction in a positive way for everyone, and you took it exactly the opposite way. And doesn't help Devin, doesn't help your team, doesn't help his chances to get doesn't impress other teams. You think other teams sit back there going, "Oh yeah, I want to get this guy. He's a malcontent." No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
No, and it's interesting. I mean, Larry Foote said that yesterday. He's not the first one. He won't be the last. And we've seen this a lot this offseason. Lamar Jackson being the biggest example of this.
Yep.
Now, what's interesting is, I think Bucs fans are really sour on Devin White right now.
Yeah.
After all this.
Yeah.
I don't think many Ravens fans were necessarily sour when Lamar Jackson requested a trade from Baltimore. I don't recall that being the case.
No, I think there was a lot of it was, from what I could tell, it was very mixed. I think there were some fans that were like, come on, man.
But I think a majority.
But I think there are a lot of other people were pointing the finger at the Ravens.
Exactly. I think in that case it was pointed more at the Ravens. And why aren't you paying this guy? We love this guy. He's our franchise quarterback. He might be the most talented player we've ever had in the history of our franchise on offense. Like, you got to get this guy under contract. So it was like a completely different thing. Whereas when it comes to Devin's point of view, or from Devin's case rather, like, where are Bucs fans at on him? If you ran a poll of, like, where do you want this guy to come back? I mean, what percentage do you want him to come back, and which percentage of you are okay with him going? Like, which way is it leaning right now?
Let's run a poll. Let's see what they say.
That's the only way to do it, right? You got to run a poll.
Right, got to run a poll. My sense is on Bucs Twitter is that I think fans are upset. I think we're echoing what a lot of fans are saying, is that there's still holes in your game. You haven't proven that you're one of the better linebackers, top 5 linebacker in the game consistently. You're not worth $20 million a year. And that's the other thing. Even if he balls out this year, I'm not sure I want to be paying an inside linebacker $20 million a year. I don't think it's a position that warrants that unless you're just, you're a game wrecker. And I wouldn't call him a game wrecker.
No, the contracts have always gone up, has obviously gone up in the past 7-8 years. But, if it was 2015, let's just say Levante David after his first 4 years in the league, okay?
Yeah.
And let's say he didn't want to play on his fifth-year option and he wanted close to $20 million. And that would have been in, 2015, 2016? Mm-hmm. Okay, we can have a conversation at $20 million. I can make it work. Because it's Levante David,
right? And
it's his prime, and I'm getting what he is at that time.
Consistency,
and I'm getting the rest of his prime.
The top numbers in the league in terms of forced fumbles, caused fumbles, tackles, all the things you want an inside linebacker to do.
Exactly. And when I look at Devin again, I know it sounds like we're always picking on him, but you got to put on the tape sometimes to watch him.
Yeah.
You can look at the numbers and 20.5 sacks and all these pass defenses and all these tackles and everything, but watch the tape.
Yeah.
And you know who watches the tape? And again, they're not the end-all be-all, but Pro Football Focus, they watch the tape and they make these grades and everything. He graded below a 50 last year in 6 games, and he was below a 60 in 7 other games. So that's 13 of his games where he's giving you below-average production from the linebacker position. I rest my case.
I mean, you can't.
My eyes tell me it.
Yes.
The tape tells me it. Everything tells me that he's not a $20 million linebacker. End of story.
Yeah, when I hear Todd Bowles say he's their best player on the field, I'm just like, I don't get it.
No, and again, where the Bucs are sitting at in the situation, Tristan Wirfs is moving to left tackle now, right? We're under that assumption.
Right.
If he balls out at left tackle, which we think he will, guess what? His price is going up.
That's right.
For what he was going to be at a right tackle.
That's right.
Now he's guarding the blind side. His price is going up. Laramie Tunsil got $25 million, and I'm going to argue right now that he's not in Tristan Wirfs' ballpark as a player. Good player, but he's not Tristan Wirfs. Tristan Wirfs realistically could get $30 million on the open market.
Yikes!
He could be the first left tackle to break that.
Which again, I mean, you always have to be savvy with your cap.
Exactly.
And the cap's going up.
And if the Bucs are going to do that, if the Bucs know that his price is going to be somewhere in that 25 to 30 range, because obviously it is, you have to save for that. You have to account for that, and he's 100% worth it. And he's playing at the second most valuable position on the field.
Yeah.
And then throw Winfield in there as well. There's really no debate for it.
Yep, I agree. 100%. Let's hear from Larry Foote. What did Larry Foote have to say yesterday? This is the co-defensive coordinator, longtime linebacker coach here, longtime NFL player,
And this
by
is
the way. Been in the league.
via
done
our
it.
friends at Pewter Report,
Really
by
good,
the way.
really good linebacker.
Well, he's not going to be the first, and he's not going to be the last. We know that. Like I told him, he's getting paid $11 million this year. Those are champagne problems, and I get it on both sides. And he done played a lot of ball. Do we need to be here in the spring? We would love him to be here, but it's not going to hurt him from the standpoint of playing. But I want him here, and I'm quite sure that's going to get worked out. But I understand both sides. It's part of the business that nobody likes, but it is what it is.
And that's another thing. You're not going to go to OTAs. You're captain on this team, and you're not going to go to OTAs.
It's not a great look. It's not a great look when Aaron Rodgers does it. It sure hell is not a great look if Devin White doesn't do it.
If I were running this club, it would be different. I would have traded him. I don't know what you'd have to give me at least a 2.
Well,
I got to get at least a 2.
Here's a scenario for you. We talked about
now that I got Servassier Dennis
yeah
in the camp,
let me throw you a scenario, and we have to kind of see. This is kind of
who I would argue is already a better linebacker against the run.
All right, we'll see. But let me throw a scenario. And this is kind of contingent on getting the NFL schedule, which comes out later this month.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know how the schedule is going to actually look. But given the list of opponents that they have for next year,
right?
I just mentioned that Roquan Smith ended up playing 8 games for the Bears before he was traded to the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we get to week 8 or week 9, whatever the deadline is. It's right around there, right?
Right.
Let's say we get there and the Bucs are 3-5, 2-6. God forbid they're 1-7 or something.
Oh, stop it!
I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. Just putting it out there.
All right.
What's stopping the Bucs from going? All right. Now we'll make the move.
Nothing.
There's nothing stopping them from doing it. And at the end of the day, is no harm, no foul, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when you actually trade him necessarily.
Right.
I just think that you should do it before you get nothing for him, because you have already established you're not paying him $20 million, barring him going out this year and being, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate,
right?
Which I frankly don't see happening. So, again, who's stopping the Bucs from doing that at week 8 or week 9?
No, they're not. I mean, they say they're not going to trade him, but circumstances change, and we'll see what happens. I'm soured on the whole situation, to be honest with you. I just think it was just a bad plan from the very beginning, and I think a lot of this the Bucs have, Todd Bowles especially, has some culpability here for continuing to, at some point, had they called him to the carpet and said, listen, man, you're not getting it done the way you should be getting it done, do you think he would be scrubbing his media and doing all these things?
No,
maybe he would have a more realistic impression of where he stands on the pecking order. So I'm here to tell you, if the Bucs don't feel like he's worth $20 million, there's not another team out there that will. I think other teams will go, well, if the Bucs aren't going to pay him that much, and they know him better than anybody else, why should we? Right?
Yeah, to me, the Bucs, Todd Bowles, I think they've inflated his ego.
Yeah,
and they've almost given him leverage in a sense, because they continue to prop him up and tell him how great he is, and that it's unfair to pick on him, and we got other people doing other things wrong and all this stuff, right? And the one person who called him out last year in the public, team legend Warren Sapp,
right?
And you saw the way that Devin White responded to that.
Right.
He was having no part of it.
Right. A very immature response.
Completely unbothered by the fact that a Hall of Famer called you out.
Right.
Right? So I think Devin's just, I don't know if he's listening to the wrong people, or you said it, I mean, maybe his agent's giving him bad information, which is entirely possible. Mm-hmm. But I just do not like the way his career is going down right now.
Right. I don't either. And I that the scenario that I described earlier imagine where we'd be right now if that's the avenue he took. And know this, that he's in a worse leverage position now with what he did than he would have been. He'd be in a better leverage situation had he been positive about it and told the world that he was going to go out and earn it, and that they tried to get a deal done but we just couldn't quite come to an agreement. Keep it positive.
Yep.
You don't have to trash the organization. The organization doesn't have to trash you. Everybody out there knows that things are in negotiation, and oftentimes you feel like you have more of a value than your employer does. You go back and forth. You come to an agreement. There's no harm, no foul there. But when you're like, I'm scrubbing my media, I'm a $20 million player, they don't respect me, I'm not coming to camp, blah, blah, blah. Nah, I'm going to put green heart emojis on the Philadelphia Eagles when Jalen Hurts gets his money and say, "Ooh, they what did he say? Oh, they take care of their own."
Yeah. I just don't have time for it, man.
Yeah.
You've been in this market for a long time. I've been a fan for a long time. There have always been problems with this team from a culture aspect and inside the building.
Yep.
And I'm about removing bad apples out of it.
Absolutely.
I'm about, okay, we just had I'll call it 2.25 years maybe of great culture, right?
Yeah.
In the locker room, in the building.
Right.
If we want to carry that on to the future, I don't have time for these issues. There's a lot of guys. The Bucs have drafted a lot of team captains, right, in drafts over the last 3-4 years. It's kind of been the Jason-like philosophy. It's almost a prerequisite. If you were a team captain, all right, you're on our board. They have a lot of guys that have a good head on their shoulder in this locker room, both offensively and defensively, and a lot of team guys and not me guys.
Right.
What I see here is the one outlier.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Gotta remove it.
Yeah.
You gotta remove it. Is that harsh? Am I being harsh?
Nope. And by drafting Servassier Dennis, is he going to be as good as Devin White? I don't know. In some aspects, I think he could be. But the bottom line is, how much worse is he going to be at $1 million a year is what you're going to be paying him likely or less as a 5th-round pick, as opposed to $20 million a year? Is the production going to be that much less? And where can you use that money in other places to make you an overall better football team? That's the job of general manager Jason Light. That's what he has to see. Where am I going to allocate my resources? And if I can get a guy who's 70, 80% of one guy for 18, 19 million less, I'm going to do that. I mean, then you can improve in other areas and spend that money. So he's not only competing against the other linebackers, he's competing against the other players on this team for salary. That's just the way it goes, and the puzzle has to all fit. The Pewter Report did a interesting. By the way, Scott Reynolds is going to join us at 10:30. I'm talking about the veteran quarterback that the Bucs are going to sign, and there's some guys out there that they mentioned, and Matt Ryan being one of them. I worked with Matt for a couple of years up in Atlanta, and I could tell you there's no better dude. If he would come here for a low price, I mean, you talk about a team player, a guy that gets it, that understands what it's all about, a guy that will gladly tutor and be a great tutor for Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, and a guy that would fit seamlessly in the room. It's that guy. That's Matt Ryan would not be coming in here like, I want to start, I want to play, I'm just here to be part of the team. That's his deal. So I think if there's a guy out there and you can get him at a low price, just from a personality standpoint and a good fit, that's the guy. I mean, Josh Johnson, obviously, he's been here before. he could be that guy. He's just because he's.
Don't you though? Well, I'll just put it this way, and I don't know what Matt. I know you know Matt Ryan better than obviously I would or most people. And I think Matt is far beyond his days of being a starter in the NFL.
Right.
I think we learned that last year, but. Don't you think if you have Matt Ryan in the building still, like, I'm just thinking in terms of like a Kyle Trask or somebody, like, don't you kind of want somebody maybe a little bit lower profile necessarily to where it's like, okay, guys, don't worry about him. It's still you two, especially Kyle Trask's sake. We're like a Josh Johnson to me, that's a sign right away of this is a two-man thing. Chase Daniel's another example of that. Like, I feel like you can get the same job done with Matt Ryan you can get with Chase Daniel, who's not going to threaten at all for anything. Nobody's going to call for Matt Ryan to be the quarter. I feel like there's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, except I would, if it's a situation of tutoring and mentoring a guy, I'd like to have a league MVP mentoring those guys. Chase Daniel's not had that type of success in this league. He doesn't know the intricacies of this league.
There's a reason why he's been a backup for 15 some odd years.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
a reason.
Yeah, because he fits in well. Yeah, I don't think he would be a bad fit. But I think a lot of people would think like you do, like, oh, he's been a league MVP. He's not going to want to come here and just, be the third wheel And I don't. If
Well,
Matt,
no, I don't.
I don't
think-
know if Matt wants to do that. First of all, Matt
Yeah.
may not want to do that. But if he agreed to do it, and fill that role, then he would fill that role. He would not be, some guy that, was be seeking the limelight. You probably wouldn't even get him to do an interview because he'd be like, that's not my thing right now. I'm here to help these guys. I really don't want any spotlight on me at all. Like he'd do one interview, welcome to the team, and you'd probably never see him again until he was needed. And that's just he would see. I don't even know if that's where his mind's at, if he would even want to do that. But if he would agree to it, he would honor that, and he would fill the role that he agreed to fill. I know that. He would not be any problem or anything like that. All right, let's we got a good comments coming in. Jordan talking about how long before Kurt Warner's son Cade takes the reins at Tampa completely out of the blue, wins a couple of Super Bowls like his dad. Well, he's not playing quarterback.
He's got to make this team first.
He's got to make the team first.
Maybe we can get E.J. Warner. Is he the Temple quarterback, right?
What's that?
E.J. Warner.
Yeah, I guess.
And I think UCF played him this year.
James says Devin only cares about Devin. I kind of get that feeling, to be honest with you. I don't know. Jordan says you handle it like Shaq did and earn your contract. Granted, he's dealt with injuries. The principle still applies. Shaq wasn't asking for a trade when he played on the tag. Right, exactly. It doesn't do you any good.
Yeah, it's because Devin White was the 5th overall pick in the draft. It feels like he's entitled to getting this big contract.
Yeah,
I think that's really what it is.
R.J. Martin says the real question is, can Devin White be as good as Devin White? Feels like he gave up last season and was nowhere near his previous years. Absolutely. There were moments where he just, it felt like he gave up or was invisible.
Let me be honest. Devin White has been the same things that Devin White struggled with last year. He has struggled in all the other years.
Right.
The difference is he sprinkled in his fair share of splash plays to balance it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Last year, the splash plays outside of the Seattle game were non-existent. And then what do you just get left with? The bad side of Devin White.
Right.
To me, that's what you saw last year, really.
Yeah. I think James makes a great point here, and the difference is that Lamar was grossly underpaid. As a 31st overall pick on a rookie contract, winning an MVP, that's the biggest bang for the buck in history, right? But I think in a lot of ways Lamar's been his worst enemy too, because he ended up signing for what the Ravens offered him, a year and a half ago.
He got a little bit more. I mean, he ended up getting more than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, he got what he probably should have got.
For having no agent and that whole thing that we were talking about, he made out pretty well.
He did, but it took a long time.
It did.
And he took a big risk playing last year at all. And he probably hurt his team last year because had he been under contract, he would have played last year, I think.
I know he debunked that, but I think we know how that typically goes.
We don't, and nobody knows but him, to be honest with you. But so, we'll definitely grant him that. But the big good thing is it all worked out, and he's going to be a Raven.
I tell you what, this comment here from James, this is a common theme that we have all these discussions about the Bucs, and eventually we come back to Todd Bowles. Doesn't everything seem to always come back when we try to look on like the bright side of the Bucs and be optimistic? And this is the thing that's still lingering there, is we do have one of the worst head coaches in football. Pains me to say it, but it's just a cold fact.
Yeah.
So it is fair to question how far this team can go with him as the head coach.
Yeah, head coaches have to perform, just like players. They have to perform in making the right decisions, and it's more important than ever because there's so many more decisions to be made on fourth down. The game has changed in that way. It's become such an offensive game. And, typically we've seen that defensive coaches have struggled with the modern NFL. Not exclusively, but as being head coaches. And we all want him to succeed. But I just keep asking the question, where are the signs that tell me that things are going to be different? What did you see any growth last year in terms of his game management? No, I think it got worse. Did you see any growth in terms of creating a culture? No, he admitted himself that the culture went bad under your watch. Mm-hmm. Not all his fault because of the Brady situation and the dysfunction in which he was named the head coach. So, anyway, let's take a break. When we come back, Scott Reynolds is going to join us. I think I may have the time wrong, but we'll figure it out. He'll be joining us at some point today. Quick break. Back to talk some more Bucs, Rays, Lightning as well. Stay with us. Guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. I apologize. We got our wires crossed with Scott Reynolds, so he will not be able to join us today, but we'll get him on shortly to want to kind of recount the whole draft with him, look ahead to the offseason and what's going on. But we'll get him maybe tomorrow or down the road. So sorry about that. We apologize, but we got more Bucs talk coming your way. We're going to continue with this Bucs theme because a lot of you guys are commenting on it on our in our comment section, which you could do, by the way, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter as well. You know how to reach us on all the shows. So most folks that are in here are, I guess, watching on YouTube, right? These are YouTube and also Facebook posts that are coming in here. And talking about Matt Ryan, Jordan says, Matt Ryan has done nothing but lose in every fashion in this league and just put up nice stats while including the worst loss in NFL history in the Super Bowl. I mean, Jordan, my man, he's not coming here to be the starting quarterback, okay? He's coming here to tutor some guys, and if guys get hurt, to be a capable backup who can step in and play. All right? I don't think this is the opportunity to trash Matt Ryan, who's had a pretty damn good career. Maybe won a league MVP. I wouldn't say that's losing in every fashion. And if you go back to the Super Bowl, I'm not going to lay a whole lot of that on Matt Ryan. There was a lot of bad play calling, blindside hits. He actually helped them build the lead too, if you don't remember that, and get them to the Super Bowl. So don't act like he's complete trash. And in this particular situation, he would not be a bad fit whatsoever.
Well, I'm here to tell you right now he's complete trash.
You are?
Yes.
Matt Ryan's complete trash.
Matt Ryan is completely cooked. Completely cooked. You're gonna sit here. Hold up. This is my only rebuttal to you, Mister. I can't stand Brady standing there in the pocket like a statue.
He's not coming here to be the starter. The guy's not going to play. Why are we even debating this?
When Tom Brady's 55, he'll be moving better in the pocket than Matt Ryan will be now.
See,
at 37.
that's not true.
Matt Ryan can't move.
Matt Ryan, he is not. He can move more than Tom Brady can. I can tell you that right now.
I really don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yes, absolutely, 100%, not even close.
Listen, Matt Ryan has had a great career, but
I'm not sitting here saying
it's over.
I'm not saying he's coming here to start. He'd be a good guy to tutor some of these other players. So Chase Daniels, the second coming, is that what you're telling me? You want Josh Johnson? I mean, who we got here? Who's better?
I'm fine with that. Just give me Chase Daniel or Josh Johnson and let me roll with what I have.
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree.
Bringing in Matt Ryan to me just opens up too many other scenarios where it's like Baker and Trask can't get it, or whoever's the quarterback doesn't get it done after the first couple weeks, and then people are like, "Oh, we got to put Matt Ryan in." Please.
If that's the mentality of the team, then you got issues with the coaching staff, not Matt Ryan. Yeah, I don't think, and I don't think you're proof positive that there's not going to be people here yelling to get Matt Ryan in there because he's better than the other guys. I'm seeing it for exactly what the role it is. As a camp guy who can come in, who's got a lot of experience in this league, who can tell these guys how to take care of their bodies or add a little bit of this or add a little bit of that. He's a super smart guy. You'd be bringing in – it's almost like having another quarterback coach who's won a league MVP. It's not a bad idea, especially with an inexperienced coaching staff offensively that you already have. That's another good brain that you put in the building that can help you. Maybe he's got some great organizational thoughts that can help Dave Canales. Hey, we used to do it this way. We used to do practices this way, do this, add a little bit of something. Yeah, absolutely. You're not just paying for a guy to play football. You're paying for that depth of knowledge that he's garnered over the last 18 years.
I got it. Why don't we just go sign Carson Wentz?
No, now that's a problem. That's a problem.
They're all problems.
No, I don't see any problem.
Just give me the career backup that I know what I'm getting.
Yeah. What Jordan says. Well, let's get this one up here too. Well, that's not working either. There we go. We know how Tampa fans are. They are very knee-jerk week to week with all our sports teams. Nobody's going to be calling for Matt Ryan to start. You guys are out of your mind.
You want to bet?
Yeah.
I know.
How do you say he's lost? Like he was the league MVP. Is that a loser, Jordan?
7 years ago.
Well, that's what he said in every fashion. His entire career, he's been a loser. That's completely wrong.
Listen,
he took a team to the Super Bowl
Matt Ryan,
and went to the playoffs 5 times.
Matt Ryan's a B.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan was a B.
I don't even know why we're talking about this, to be quite honest. It's not even like, what are we talking about?
He was a B. He was a B quarterback.
All right, moving on. Do we have any more Larry Foote that we wanted to play?
Yeah, let me cue up the Larry Foote for you.
All right, then we'll move on to the Rays.
You're so upset that we're trashing your precious Matt Ryan.
It's so it's not needed. It's just not needed. Just not needed.
All right, here's Larry Foote, and this is him discussing more about Devin White and what it really all comes down to here.
Is that, or is it bigger than that?
It's money.
Yeah.
It's money. It's you looking now at the guaranteed money, and
Yeah.
he wants his money now,
Yeah.
but he got to understand, organization, they're preparing for next year.
Yeah.
So we got to meet somewhere in the middle, however it's going to play out. But picked up his 5th-year option. Seen across yesterday, a lot of players, they don't get that option.
Yeah.
So, but it's money, and I understand that. Like I said, he's not the first, and he's not going to be the last, and then that's part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, these are champagne problems, and unfortunately, they're just going to have to work themselves out, and it's going to be in a negative way because that's the way Devin White set it up, and that's sad to say. So they've got rookie camp coming up. We'll get a chance to see some of these undrafted free agents as well, which I think Sean Tucker's the guy that everybody's – and I haven't really heard about what his status is. I mean, obviously, he's signing a contract. He wants to play football. He can play football. He has a heart issue, which is the reason why he wasn't drafted, a running back out of Syracuse. I don't know. It could be a guy that is a sleeper. I mean, you just never know. He certainly had a great numbers in college, put up ridiculous numbers in college, and was very, very effective.
Super strong dude, by the way.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. I mean, short yardage has been an issue. But actually, Rachaad White's pretty damn good in short yardage when you look at his numbers. So I don't know. I think the Bucs always seem to find some good undrafted free agents, and he might be at the top of the list.
Yeah, and I've also heard. I mean, I know Pewter Report's really high on this guy. Is Jeremy Banks, the linebacker from Tennessee, which it sounds like he would have been a guy that would have gotten drafted, if not for I guess some attitude issues that popped up at Tennessee. So that's why he went undrafted, but. If they could sort that out, I mean, he could be a player potentially. I mean, they need more linebacker depth. End of story. So, but it seems like those are the two consensus. Sean Tucker and Jeremy Banks could be their steals as undrafted free agents.
Yeah, this here's kind of what Peter Report wrote about Sean Tucker. Talented running back, originally projected in the 4th round, was consensus number 14 ranked running back in the draft. Some analysts had him as high as a 2nd-round selection. If he's healthy and medically cleared after dealing with a heart condition, the Bucs might have found themselves a steal in free agency. He's a former track star, great speed, good vision, patient at the line of scrimmage, sees a hole and hits it, displays good contact balance, capable of receiver out of the backfield, makes crisp cuts with the ball in his hands as a one-cut runner. Weaknesses, while he put up 29 reps at his pro day, that's the 220-pound bench press, he isn't a powerful rusher and isn't going to run over defenders. He will also need to make significant strides as a pass blocker if he wants to see the field early on in his career. So he ran for 1,060 last year, the senior, 11 touchdowns, 5.1 yards per carry average. That's good stuff. I mean, that's really, really good stuff. So we'll see how. I
mean, the bottom line is they got 2 players, the ones I just mentioned, undrafted, that had 4th-round grades.
That's a big deal.
Mean, I read the one here that JC wrote about Jeremy Banks, and he was projected here as high to go as round 4, until the character red flags kind of caused him to go undrafted. But from what he says, he's good in pass coverage. Not really top end speed, but he was a running back his first year at Tennessee, and then converted to linebacker. So he probably has enough speed there, right?
Yeah.
Good size. So, and again, with all the uncertainty with Devin White, and I know this sounds weird because this guy has attitude issues. Right? But with all the uncertainty there to that conversation, it doesn't hurt to get some of these guys in here. And by the way, the backups they have in there right now, I just don't think are any good.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Jay Britt, I don't know if KJ Britt's making this team this year, to be honest with you.
Well, not with some of these linebackers that they
continue to bring in. He's going to be pushed, and I'm betting that he's not going to pull out on that.
Yeah. We'll see. That's going to be
Yep.
It's going to be fun to watch this. There's a lot of battles in camp that are going. I mean, we talk about camp battles. I think
it's a completely different thing. It sounds weird, but it's been we've got to go back 4 or 5 years to where we've actually had real camp battles for positions for the Buccaneers. We've had veterans everywhere, and now it's like we got a lot of unproven and young and hungry here at every position.
I think both edge rushers, depending on what Shaq's condition is, obviously Shaq coming back, that's a big. We forget about that. And by the way, there's a GoFundMe that has been set up for Shaq Barrett's Family Foundation, which supports foster children. Bruce Arians also has a charity that supports foster children, and Bruce has already given a large donation to this. So there's a GoFundMe set up. We'll retweet it out.
With the guys at Loose Cannons organized it last night, and they got a lot of traction. So
thanks guys, Sammer and all those guys for doing that. So we'll retweet that as well if you want to give money to that foundation in this tragic time for Shaq's family. And foster care is something that really, there's a lot of kids out there that need that help. So it's a very, very worthy cause. But, Shaq coming back is going to help this pass rush tremendously. I think JTS's job is up for grabs from a few people with Yaya and
Jose Ramirez, who they think that might be like their biggest steal of what they got. They're really excited about Jose Ramirez, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely improved in terms of team speed coming off the edge, big time. With Diaby and Ramirez, Shaq coming back. I mean, that's
Kalijah Kancey in the middle.
Kalijah Kancey in the middle. I mean, their pass rush should be a hell of a lot better than it was last year.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to come in here and get speed, and they definitely have accomplished that. And the other thing that I think was a goal, and this was addressed yesterday by Casey Rogers, defensive line coach, is Logan Hall. They need more from him. In year 2. They need him to put on weight. And Casey Rogers said yesterday that he's at 296 right now. So that sounds like because what was he when he got drafted? Like 280?
Yeah, 280, 285.
Yeah, so it sounds like he's put on a good 10 to 15 pounds already.
That's good.
And it sounds like they want him to get to 300 or maybe even a little after that. So there's an encouraging sign. He seems to have taken to what he needed to do, and he's now putting on weight, and hopefully you get more from him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. We're going to take a break. We'll come back on the other side, get into some Braves baseball. And Scott Jeeves going to come in and join us from the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Personal attention from a great law firm that will fight for you. If you've been involved in an accident or you've had a car totaled and you don't think you got the settlement you deserve, that's something they do very, very well. You can get that free consultation. Just go to the JeevesLawGroup.com, contact them through the website, and tell them JP sent you. And if you have any questions, any legal questions at all, bring them in the chat or hit us up on Twitter because Scott will be coming in. We'll be talking some Gator football. Interesting article in the paper today about the transfer portal and Gator football. So we'll hit on all that stuff in our second hour. Stay with us. This is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to italianoinsurance.com. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, the home of the True Body Machine, where you can just get hooked up there, get these 15-minute sessions, and before you know it, you got abs. It's kind of how it works. Kind of melts the fat away, gets the muscles and the core engaged like you're doing 1,000 sit-ups or more. So check it out. It's at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. All right, we want to dive in a little bit to the Rays here, and it feels like a month in, they're starting to get some traction on the national level. MLB Network did like a 4.5 minute discussion, which we're going to try to play at some point here. But we go back to last night's game, and, you know, what more can you ask from Shane McClanahan? Becomes the first 6-game winner in Major League Baseball, another 9 strikeouts. His stuff was electric last night. I don't remember him having the movement on this changeup that he's been throwing to right-handed batters to going away. I don't remember that from last year. Is this something that he's perfected, he's worked on?
Well, they talked about it a little bit on the national broadcast, if you remember when they played Chicago, because that was when that changeup was dancing. And it sounds like Kyle Snyder worked with him in the offseason about the placement of his finger on the ball. It's like one of his fingers, I forgot which one, on the ball. And he started doing it, and he had a lot more break and kind of tailing action against right-handed hitters, and he's perfected it right now. So, yes, there was a switch there this offseason with the changeup.
Yeah, that's kind of been his swing and miss pitch too. It has been. I mean, the fastballs, they're right there too, and hitting at 99. It's hard to ask much more from this kid. Except stay healthy, for God's sakes.
You know what's so funny about it? It's like he's reached like this. Like, the whole word they were using is consistency with Shane McClanahan. He takes the ball every 5 days, and at this point, I know what I'm getting. And at the same time, stop me if I'm just talking nonsense, I feel like there's even another level to his arsenal and to his overall game. I do. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Like, he's really consistent with what he's doing, and I'm by no means am I saying that I don't like what I'm seeing from Shane McClanahan. I'm saying what's scary is there's another level to Shane McClanahan. I would argue the first half, what he showed last year in the first half of the season was better than what I've seen the first half of this season so far, first month. I think that's fair, and that's what I'm saying. But now the difference now is he's found that consistency, whereas last year he didn't have that, especially in the second half of the season. That's the difference. So maybe he doesn't have to go have these all-world starts all the time, but if he's giving you a solid 6 and he's giving up a run or 2 or 0 and striking out 9 or 10, I mean, what more can you really ask for from your ace on most nights?
You can't. And the offense, again last night, Josh Lowe hit a bomb.
Why did that ring have to be there, man?
Did you see it? Didn't it hit the back scoreboard?
It still hit the back of the scoreboard, even though that it hit the ring first.
Oh, it did hit the ring first.
It hit the ring first. That thing was on a absolute BB, and it hit the ring, and it kind of fell down a little bit, but it still hit the back scoreboard. That thing would have slammed off of, like, the top of the scoreboard if it didn't hit that ring.
That was a bomb. What did they say? That was 446?
I think it was over 450.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that was a bomb. X velocity, I think 112, and boy, that was some serious trajectory. We have that one.
Yes, we do.
I love listening to the sound of these things. Josh Lowe.
A shot high and deep to right. That baby's gonna go.
You think?
Home run off the bat of Josh Lowe, number 6.
Wow. Kaboom. We got one from Wander last night, too.
Yeah, yes, we did.
Yes.
Here was his home run in the 7th inning.
Yeah, they just kept piling on.
Last night.
And a shot back into deep right center. That baby's going to go out of here.
Almost raised tank. Yeah, they just keep on hitting. 8-1 last night. Their run differential now is, 123 plus 123, which is 40-plus more than any other team in baseball.
Yeah. And look at the way
Christmas.
Look at the way they pieced together 8 runs last night, too. Like, we have infield singles. We're forcing Pittsburgh into making errors. A really buttoned-up baseball team early on. I mean, this is the second-best team in baseball. Mm-hmm. And they've made them look like the old Pirates through the first 2 games. With the errors, like they're making them make mistakes. You have a lineup that came in red hot. Now, how many runs do they have through 2 games? 2. Mm-hmm. Just 2. Mm-hmm. And the first game, they do it with a complete bullpen effort.
Right.
And then the next game, they come out you with
they're banging ace.
They're banging ace, and a guy who's 35 years old who had already flamed out of the big leagues years ago.
It's a ridiculous story.
And he just goes 3 shutout to get the save.
Yeah.
I mean, that's to me what's so special about this team. It's like they're 25-6, yes, but they're not a one-trick pony. They can play any style of game you want to get into. You want to get into a power contest and a slugfest?
Let's go.
They'll beat you to it.
Yeah.
You want to play 1-0, 2-1? Yeah, we're going to outpitch you then, and we're going to do the right things on the base paths, and we're going to make the right plays. We're going to play great defense.
Steal home.
I mean, I don't know what else you could say about the team right now. They've checked off everything that you could possibly have on the list.
Fairbanks goes on the injured list now
Yes.
with a forearm issue, not elbow.
Your forearm, if I'm not mistaken, is right here.
Yeah.
And your elbow's
Forearm,
pretty darn close to it.
Yeah, sometimes these forearm things are closely related to the ulnar collateral ligament, which, dare I say, is Tommy John, which he's already had 2.
We've been through this before.
With Fairbanks. He already had 2.
Again, this calls into question of what the hell are we doing with our pitching staff? What are we not doing? What are we doing? Because I mean, we were having a discussion about Chase Anderson. We can get the rusty bucket to keep on going, but we can't keep the shiny toys upright.
I don't listen. There's lots of things I don't want to say certain things that I know and I've heard because it's not I don't want to say something out of turn because I don't know. I've not talked to their doctors. I've talked to people that work with their doctors, and they've told me some things that, that maybe they're not as forward-thinking as other organizations are. Let's just put it that way. But the bottom line is they're having issues. They're having major, major issues that other teams are not having. And this is the only chink in the armor. The only chink in the armor is keeping these pitchers healthy. And it is, it's out of whack. It's out of whack here. For whatever reason, something's got to change.
Yeah, because the Durham train, I mean, we're 31 games in, right? The Durham train is rolling right now.
But as soon as I say that, I'm like, well, they're number 1 in ERA.
That's the thing. It's like it's an issue.
It's like we keep going through different pitchers, but every pitcher we bring up seems to be able to, out of the scrap heap, seems to be able to pitch 3 shutout innings.
It is, and you're almost like you're waiting on it. You're looking for, okay, when's this going to break?
Right.
Like eventually something's going to happen here, and these
It's kind of
guys
like the
just
Lightning.
aren't going
It's
to
kind
be
of like
it.
the Lightning. Eventually, we kept saying, can you keep playing this much hockey and playoff hockey and keep answering the bell time and time again when other teams, nobody else in the league has been able to do it even 1 year after they win a cup. You're doing it 2-3 years after winning a cup. And so at what point is it going to be a breaking point? You can't do it all the time.
Yeah, and with some of the offenses, again, that they're facing right now, I mean, the Yankees are a shell themselves right now. I think we understand that. But the Baltimores, the Mets, the Torontos, the Dodgers, the Cubs, I mean, that's your May schedule right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are some of the best offenses in MLB right now. So it is it's a concern. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a major concern because they're 25-6. I mean, they continue to win games. They seem to be able to manage it better than any other team in the league, right, when it comes to injuries.
Yep.
So, and the starting rotation to me is the good thing. Everyone in the starting rotation, obviously not Springs, is upright at the moment. And
right.
I'm throwing Glasnow in there because he's doing his AAA. I think he's going on a rehab outing.
Yeah, this week. Yeah, 3 starts in Durham, and then hopefully to get him back.
Yeah, so maybe
2 weeks.
Maybe you get him back
middle of the month.
Maybe you get him back there for that Mets series, or wait till they come back on home against Milwaukee. So I think it's still a positive there. But again, when the offense is doing what they're doing right now, I mean,
score 8 runs a game, you'll be fine.
Yeah, we got our Papa John's back. Thank goodness on that one.
It's this is what Fairbanks said. He said it's just something that's not bouncing back to the extent that I expected to. It's just not feeling exactly right towards the end of the delivery. It's something I kind of want to nip now instead of have it come back and bite me later. It's so funny. We always hear these types of quotes at the beginning of the injured stay on the list, right? Mm-hmm. And then 2 days later, he's having Tommy John, right? It's like almost every time these Rays things come out.
So
Am I wrong?
I'm bracing. The Springs was so optimistic that it was nothing wrong and everything.
Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to get a cup of coffee. I'll be back in a year and a half. I mean, it just seems to always go that way.
I mean, the only time it didn't really go that way was when Glasnow got hurt now in spring, and we all went, "Oh no!"
Our doctors do they need money? They just like, okay, let's just Tommy John. I mean, it's like it's like you walk every day. We keep sending our cars in for an oil change, and they come out with a complete transmission overhaul.
I wonder if there's data out there. I'd have to look for it, but I wonder if there is data out there that tells you which teams get hurt more than others with their pitching staff.
It's baseball, for God's sakes. There's data on everything.
Yeah, there's got to be data on that. But, I mean, because we're around the Rays every day. Yeah. And we're seeing it. But, I mean, the Yankees, look how many injuries the Yankees have to their pitching staff.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to act like the Yankees are – that's part of the reason why – or not part of the reason why they're struggling right now. They don't have any pitching.
Right.
So, but again, the Rays' ability to manage it, that's the key word. It managed through the injuries. The other teams in the league just had not figured out to do it.
Right.
Whereas the Rays can.
Mm-hmm. So as much as we bitch about it, the bottom line is they still have the best pitching staff numbers in baseball.
Yeah.
So, but can it continue? There was another little incident last night with Mr. Wonderful. SportsCenter called Wander Mr. Wonderful. Are you like that nickname, Mr. Wonderful?
Mr. Wonderful.
I don't know why I like
I think we can do a little bit better.
That's
a little too surface level for me.
I like Bayshore Bombaderos better. Yeah, but whatever. So last night, he takes a ground ball, hot shot, like picks it up, and he's got plenty of time to get it to first base. But he kind of flips it up in the air, grabs it with his throwing hand, and then throws a bullet to first to get the out. It made SportsCenter, right? Everybody's, oh, look at this, woo. But it's, not fundamentally the way you play the game. We had a little bit of discussion about this with the double steal the other day. It's a positive. These guys, they're having fun the way they play the game. It brings energy to the game. It brings, life to the game. This is how they play it. Do you want to tamp that down at all? I don't think so. But Kevin Cash kind of drew the line at this one. So let's listen to Cash post game last night. I think within this interview there's a question about that. But here's his overall take on the game last night.
Advantage of errors, some key doubles, some home runs, just a game where you got it done offensively in a lot of different ways, much like yesterday?
Yeah, I think so. Look, we're playing a good team. They played really, really well. Keller's thrown the ball well for them. Sometimes you got to just make sure you're capitalizing when they give some opportunities. That they certainly presented today, and felt like we did a nice job of coming up with the big hit at any point when those opportunities kind of arose.
And then Shane, just one run. He got out of a couple jams as well early in the first and the bottom of the third. What'd you like about the way that he was pitching today?
Yeah, everything. I mean, he was really good again. He's starting, we know how talented he is. He's starting to find that level of consistency that the elite ones do. And we're fortunate that we got a guy that we can pencil in every fifth day to do that.
What'd you think of the 455-foot shot by Josh Lowe?
I asked Josh going up to his next at-bat when he was on deck, I said, was that the best one you've ever got? And he said, yes. I wish it wouldn't have hit the ring. I'm curious where it would have actually gone.
It looked like it came pretty close to the back wall, didn't it?
Hit the scoreboard.
It hit the ring, didn't it?
Yeah.
Hit the ring and the scoreboard, too.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know.
Don't we have a trajectory on this?
What'd you think of the guy who started the day in Omaha, Nebraska today?
What were you looking for? The launch angle? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, well, just the whole
StatCast thing.
The StatCast thing. I mean, it just seems like if it hits the ring, it's not going to go as far.
Yeah,
right?
I saw my eyes. Like, it hit the ring, but it kind of maybe ricochet. It was more like a ricochet.
A ricochet off the ring.
It kept going.
I guess it could,
and it kept going.
Make it go farther if it hits.
It wasn't like it hit the ring and just went. Pfft.
Right.
No, it just kind of ricocheted, almost like when you nick a golf ball with a tree, but you don't catch it straight.
Oh, I've never done that.
Oh well, we saw yesterday. I did plenty of times. Let's continue.
I hit more trees than fairways.
Yeah. If there was a tree, we'll find it.
Yeah, right.
Let's continue.
He did a heck of a job. Congrats to him. I believe that's his first career save for a guy that's got, 6, 7, 8 years in the big leagues to be a starting pitcher. We're fortunate that, he came here. I think he knows a couple guys from Durham last year, but that's a lot that we asked. And I talked to him before the game. He said his family had just gotten in town, so it's pretty exciting for him.
And just the idea that you put him out there, I assume just maybe for one inning, and then he was able to finish the game.
We were going to piece it together. He was on full rest, but we were going to kind of go inning by inning. But after the first 4 or 5 pitches, it seemed like he really got in a groove, executed his pitches through a lot of strikes, and really wanted him, after he got through 2, get another inning to get the save.
On top of everything else, just getting that start from Shane after you had to empty the bullpen yesterday, another layer to it.
Well, Mark alluded to it earlier today. He's the right guy to have going after a game like we were in yesterday.
You mentioned earlier also about him getting, some of the national conversation. He's now the first 6-game winner in the majors.
Yeah.
ERA at 2.03. I think he's kind of pitching his way into those conversations.
I do. I think his stuff and what he's done throughout a very young career is pretty remarkable. I mean, last year I felt he was the best pitcher in the first half of baseball. Seems like he's picked up right where he left off from the playoff game, so very happy for Shane.
And us.
You saw the speed from Siri yesterday. You see it every night. You saw it again tonight. How important has that been for the team, getting that back and on the base pass?
Quite a bit. I mean, there's probably not a lot of guys that can score on the ball that he scored on, but he gained so much ground, long strides. We got a couple of really fast guys. I would put him at the top of the list, and that's a big part of his game. So however he can get on base, we know that he's going to get extra 90 feet, maybe more than most, and then the speed in which he covers the outfield is really impressive.
Catch Wander kind of flipping the ball to himself on that last out of the seventh.
Yeah.
Style points.
Good play. Got him out.
What do you think on that? Good play. Got him out.
And he did one of these. He's like, good play. Got him out.
Yeah, I was looking for the cutaway in the dugout when he came back. Do you think there was a look? Was there a
probably just has one of those blank stares, straight ahead,
like a little eye tilt, little eyebrow tilt, like?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I knew the second I saw it, I sprinted over to Twitter because of course, and I'm like looking for we're gonna have one of the old man yelling clouds type scenarios on this one, and it did not disappoint. There was people who were.
Ray's Fangio was he? How did he weigh in?
I did not see Ray's Fangio's reaction. I should have looked to him because, of course, he was going to have an instant reaction.
Yeah, there you go. He's the king of the old heads, right? Right there.
You would think, yeah. But I mean,
Ray's Fangio, your reaction.
I'll tell you this. I mean, and I know I'm younger, but I do like I'm big on the historic nature of the game.
Right,
and
of course, you're a traditionalist.
I'm a traditionalist at heart. So 5 years
so
ago,
weird, because I'm the one trying to drag you kicking and screaming into modern day baseball.
Yeah, I hated all the rule changes, and now 31.
Did you play a lot of baseball growing up?
Yeah, I played for 10 years.
Okay. I spent a lot of time, sitting in the field, just bored out of my mind.
Were you playing right field?
Sometimes.
Yeah, there you go. There's your answer. Nobody hits
a little bit of third base.
Nobody hits it to right field.
They stuck me out right field.
Yeah, clearly. That's
why
you were bored.
No, I played third base. I played first base.
You ever have the
catcher.
glove on your head sometimes mid-inning?
I played just maybe.
Doing the thing on your doing the Kiermaier, spinning it on your finger and everything. That was you?
Well, my high school baseball team had 3 really good pitchers. And so we didn't get a lot of action. We didn't get a lot, guys pitching 7-inning games with 20 strikeouts. You're not gonna get a whole lot of action out there. It's like, why are we even here? Just Joe, you go do your thing. Bobby, you go do your thing. We'll be over here just sitting on a bench.
But yeah, anyway, I'm very traditional. I come from I'm from a big baseball family, like the Saladinos,
Yeah.
And we're very traditional. So 5 years ago, this probably would have pissed me off, probably. But now. Like I said, I'm trying to be more open-minded to the things in the game. And we had the conversation. It's so fitting because we had the conversation yesterday about this team and Kevin Cash allowing these guys to be themselves, right? And, be a kid again, right? And just play.
Yes.
And it's working.
Yes.
So why step in and try to enforce that? And I think that's where you kind of you lose your team sometimes. And I go back to 2 years ago, Yerman Mercedes, if you recall. The catcher for the White Sox, who was on a heater for 2 months in the season. And he hit that home run he swung at a 3-0 pitch up by 14 runs and hit a home run in the 9th inning.
Right.
And his coach was Tony La Russa. And Tony La Russa, right there for everybody to see, berated him as he came to the dugout.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, he sent him down to the minors a month later. And Yerman Mercedes has never recovered from that moment.
That's crazy.
Never recovered, and that was a guy who at that time was 29-30, a career minor leaguer, and here he is trying to get a contract, make some money, and all those numbers matter to him.
Sure.
And Tony La Russa wasn't having it. And I think the White Sox I think he lost the team in that moment.
He did. Yeah, I agree.
And they were a similar team to the Rays. They have a lot of players with diverse backgrounds and they wanted to, show off their flair and everything, and that was the worst coach to allow that to happen. Kevin Cash is just, to me, just stepping back and being like, y'all go ahead. So maybe I interpret Kevin Cash's response as maybe he doesn't necessarily care for it. I don't think he wants to see it again.
No.
But I think that's kind of my final take on it. A one-time thing I'm fine with.
I think there's, and this is, where is the line? Where is the line? And in a weird way. When I first saw it, I went, "Oh, that was fun," and then I went, "It was fun, but if you drop that ball, and I don't know what was the score at that particular time. I don't remember.
By that moment, the Rays were already up by multiple runs.
Okay. But even then, like that's a play where it's you're fundamentally, for a guy like Wander, that's a nothing. He can do that in his sleep. That once you catch that ball, it was a hot shot. Once you catch that ball, he knows he's got plenty of time, and it's just kind of a rhythm thing. And he probably does it in practice all the freaking time.
He said he was practicing it in warm-ups.
Yeah. So so I think there's a little bit of like that's not needed. Like the double steal thing where you're being aggressive and you're just going on instinct and you have that ability and that freedom to do that. I think that's different than that. And even when you're pimping home runs, I don't have a huge problem with that. Now, if you pimp a home run and point your bat at the pitcher and flip it and give him a bird, that's no good. So there's a line.
Yeah,
you can watch it. You can turn to your dugout, take a bow if you like. That's fine, as long as you're doing it with your thing. But now there's the play. Now, if he does this again and it's an error, and then maybe it leads to a couple runs, and then then it becomes a little bit of a problem, right? So I think, and Cash has to know where is that line. And here's the other thing: Cash didn't go public nuke on him. Did he?
No.
He probably took him. He probably at some point after the game or maybe in the tunnel went to him and said, I love you, Mr. Wonderful, but we're not going to. That's a little bridge too far.
Either that or maybe there's a player on this team that policed it themselves. And to me, that's what I've learned from listening to a lot of, GMs and coaches. The best way to handle things like this is player to player rather than actually coach to player.
Right.
You need guys in the clubhouse who are going to hold others accountable. And maybe it was Yandy Diaz, who's a lot older than Wander Franco, and just say, hey, that was cool, man, but, let's keep it all buttoned up,
Yeah. I think that's fair.
If that even happened. Maybe nobody had a problem with it. I don't think it's that big of a deal necessarily, again, as a one-off. But if you keep doing it, then I'm probably going to be like, all right,
And and again, Cash is smart enough to know, and this is also a cultural thing. You don't embarrass any player really in public like that, like the way La Russa did. To me, those are bygone days.
That's an old school.
That's an old school mentality. You're protecting the game, and you're showing everybody how you're protecting the integrity of the game. We ain't got time for that. There's too many other messages that are being sent within that. There's a better way to handle it. And instead of letting your ego get out of control in that situation, you let another player handle it, or you handle it in a even when it's asked about in the post-game press conference, you don't go off. You just go. He sent a message with what he said. It was complete. It was passive aggressive. I mean, that was A1 passive aggressive. That was like, good play. He didn't even have to say, don't do it again. We understand. So and that's why Cash is one of the best managers, if not the best manager in baseball.
And you know what? And I don't know how much this really matters necessarily, but for a fan base that is dying for their team to get some respect, and everybody look at us, right? That play was all over social media last night. Yeah. It was everywhere. You told me it was on SportsCenter.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how hard it is to get a baseball highlight on SportsCenter?
Especially for the Rays.
During the NBA playoffs, let alone. I mean, the fact that they actually devoted something to Wander Franco doing that.
Yeah. And then showed his home run. And called him Mr. Wonderful. Yeah.
Like, isn't that what you wanted at the end of the day, Rays fans? That's what I wanted. I wanted them to be there. So I think if you're really pissed off about it, I mean, again, the team's 25-6, folks. They're 25-6. I don't have time to worry about all these issues right now.
There is not a whole lot.
And you know what? You know what? Here's the other thing.
Like
maybe Wander was just like, you know what? This game's too easy right now. I can make this play in my sleep. Let me just challenge myself a little bit with a little flip. I don't know.
Don't do it. You're testing the baseball gods.
Testing the baseball gods.
Yeah,
but this game,
you saw what they did to you last year.
You know that, but this game looks too easy right now to these guys.
Yeah, but I think it's a real good balance, and I think the Rays are hitting it perfect. They're barreling it up, right in the sweet spot. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and talk some college football. Our good friend Scott Jeeves is in the house, and if you have any legal questions that you have some thoughts on, he'll be happy to answer those as well. You can put them in the chat or at FanStream JP. We got some interesting things to talk about when it comes to Gator football. Their recruiting is doing great, but there are some other issues that aren't so good. We'll talk about that next. Stay with us. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to italianoinsurance.com. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on Fan Stream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right. Welcome back to JP Peterson Show. Our good friend Scott Jeeves joining us here from the Jeeves Law Group for the our Gator Report. And my friend, it is so good to have you back. We haven't had you in a while.
Thank
you. We really appreciate your sponsorship of the show. The fans out there really appreciate the sponsorship of the show. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to your beloved Gators. But you have a question for me.
I do. How do we put so many people in the NFL but not so good on the field this last year? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, a lot of it has to do with the league you play in, first and foremost. You know, you put the Gators in the ACC, they'll be winning, 8, 9, 10 games, even over the last couple of years. So let's just be honest about that. It's a much tougher league to play in, and it also has the best coaching in the league. And if your coaching's not up to stuff, you're going to lose games. I mean, there's talent there. There's no question about it. But the other part of it is you have between 10 and 15 NFL scouts at every SEC game. So every one of your players is getting a really, really good look. And you just need to catch one scout's eye. And you're going to get guys, they'll follow you. They just love taking players from the SEC because they're productive in the NFL. It's the closest facsimile to the NFL. So you're just going to get more players drafted just off that alone. Now you start seeing about, will these players be good pros? That's a whole nother question.
That's Richardson in Indianapolis. I think he's got an ability to be successful because they brought the backup from Philly over.
Yep.
So they may give him a year, which I think that would be a better time for him.
And he's got a great coach in Shane Steichen who knows how to get the best out of that type of quarterback because he did it with Jalen Hurts. And the athletics, I looked at Anthony Richardson. I'm sitting there like you watching the FSU Florida game. And I'm just holding my breath, as Florida gets the ball with a chance to win the game late in the game. And I'm just saying, this cat can go 70 at a moment's notice, and you're just holding your breath.
Or he can throw the ball 70.
Or throw it to us. That's good too, which he almost did. We just didn't catch it. So that's who he is. But we've been debating this on this show for 2 months, 3 months now, should the Bucs take Anthony Richardson? And I went from hell no to, yeah, it'd probably be a good idea. Because you start watching his tape, and which I did. I went back and watched almost every game he played this year. And there's some dumb throws in there. You watched every too, so as a Gator fan.
Yeah.
But the athleticism is just off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, he showed well in the Tennessee game. He showed well in some big games. And to his defense, I think he had a lot of drops by his receiver.
Tons. I think the most in the major conferences.
Yeah, which I think is identified as a problem we're going to have to fix. And
yeah.
I think Napier's on it, and I think we have a lot of faith in Napier, or he's he better start to produce. Like any other major college, you got to win.
Well, I'll say this about Napier. I think he's a great recruiter. And right now, I think their class for next year is top 6 or 7 right now.
Yeah.
That's what you got to look at. The first 2 years of Norvell were a disaster.
Yeah.
Worse than what you guys went through. So look where they are now. And it's all about getting his type of players. You have to have ultimate faith in your coach. If you're going to hire the guy, you got to have faith in time. Unless they show you something that is so egregiously bad, you have to fire them, like Willie Taggart. So I think we saw enough strides from Norvell to say, okay, he's making the right thing. And then pop last year, you get 10 wins out of nowhere.
Consistency.
Yeah. So I think Napier, he strikes me as a really smart guy and a very convicted guy. Like he knows his system. And he knows the type of players that he wants. Now, there's an article in the paper today, I'm sure you read it, about them I think they brought in one kid in the portal.
Yeah.
A really good player from Michigan, a 4-year starter. But the numbers aren't there. in the portal, and I'm sure Gator fans are looking at FSU and we're killing it in the portal.
Yeah.
We've found some great players. So I see that and I think Mike has done a great job of identifying the right players and getting them and creating an atmosphere where these players want to come. I think it's going to happen with Napier. I really do. I just don't know how good of a game coach he is in terms of the SEC.
We should be better on recruiting the porthole because there's a chance to come play at the SEC level. And like you said, the Scout League. We're the Scout League for the NFL. So I think that's an advantage in the fact that we're not doing better than we did. We did get some quarterbacks, obviously.
Yes.
We did well there and everything. Last time we were here, we talked about NIL. Remember
Yes,
that?
yeah.
And in the interim, there was the debacle with the number one ranked quarterback in the country at Florida. So Florida's now kind of redone their system. Let's
what was your take on what went down there? I know you know a lot of people.
I think
in high places.
I think it was a systematic, breakdown. There's probably communication breakdowns on both sides. I think it was way overpromised, maybe underdelivered type of thing.
Yes.
I don't think. Yes. I think they're working through the system. And they just don't know how to do it. And the problem I have with the NIL is it's going to. I have things I've thought about is, does it cause dissension among the team? Do we pay our, the Texas running back? He was getting a Ferrari and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have one or two players that are getting, and that's what, if you look at it right now in the NIL, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
You've got 1-2 players maybe on a team, and does that create some team dynamics where there's resentment or this, that, and the other? I think they're trying to shape it. They're trying to work through it. But, and certain people are more marketable. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. You're, offensive lineman, even though he keeps your quarterback safe and not on the ground, may not be as marketable as the running back, the quarterback, the wide receiver catching the touchdown. So there's inherent things that I think if they do that collective approach, maybe they can spread the money around the team. I kind of like that.
I think that's what a lot of programs are doing.
Like that idea.
There's like kind of a minimum salary, so to speak, for anybody on scholarship, and then according to how many boosters or companies come in that pick players to do this, that, and the other. Now, have you endeavored into NIL with any of the Gator players to represent your law firm, or how does that work? Does that approach you?
I think you got to push a lot of dollars in that. And I don't, when NIL came out, you got,
well, you're a donor, right? You give money to the school.
Yeah.
How do they? I'm interested to know how they approach you. Do they want you to give it to the school? Do they want you to give it to the NIL? Do they want? I mean, how do they want you to do it?
I think you've got competing interests. Okay.
Right.
I think
exactly.
You've got the Gator boosters who want you to give it to the football program and buy the tickets.
Right.
Now you've got an NIL booster. Like, here's additional thing that we've got more money to potentially put into, and you've got all these other things. And I'm not quite sold on the NIL.
Yeah.
I'm just not willing to give money that way, whereas I'd rather give the booster for my tickets in the traditional way that you've always done.
Right.
I just don't. And I think we see it in all major college football programs. It's like okay, we got to have a better indoor practice. We got to have better this, better that.
Facilities
race. It's like one more thing that is a money drain on these programs. And are we giving the kids back the dollars that they deserve when you're practicing 20, 30, 40 hours a week, whatever it may be?
It's 40 or more. Or more. Yes.
I'm trying to be tactful. I'm sure they're all working that hard. But
I once had a player, I won't tell you which school, but you know it well, and it happens at all schools. They would make them fill out a timesheet, and they can't do over 20 hours a week. And they'd fill out this timesheet, and the coaches would tell them how much time to put in there, because they say you have to put 0 on Sunday, but they all spent 6 hours in the film room and 2 hours in the weight room on Sunday. And he's like, we have to put 0. He's put 0. And everybody's doing it. And it's a joke.
You don't count PT time. You don't count rehab time. You don't count this. You don't count that.
It's all for show. It's all for show. And but this is. And it's interesting because as a booster, back in the old days, it was the same. The better players got more money. It was just under the table, right? And now they get the other best players get more money, but it's on top of the table. But at least now everybody's getting something, and I think that's important. I've always been an advocate for paying the players.
I'm going to laugh because I remembered a buddy of mine played at SMU when Dickinson
Oh,
and them
yeah.
were there, and he said even he, barely played at times, but he said he would come in and there would be different sizes of stacks of money in everybody's, in everybody's little locker. And I'm not mentioning his name because he's just nicest guy and he still loves SMU, but he was like. And he goes, and then there's Eric Dickerson's. There's like a bag in there. Him and James, remember Craig James?
Yes, the Pony Express.
Yep,
the
they
Pony
were doing
Express.
well, and
yes.
he's like, you'd walk in, and they'd have a bag.
Yeah.
Everybody else have a stack. They had a bag.
You get the bag. You get the bag. Well, was it the as the story goes, when Cam Newton was being recruited after he left Florida. That his dad was a pastor in Atlanta, I believe it was, and I don't know if this is true, but this is just the urban myths is that the recruiters would go to the church and put the money in the plate as it was being passed, and they would know like what school. And clearly Auburn went to church a lot.
I think
they went to church a lot, but it's like how much is that guy worth to Auburn for the national and everything that they bring? It's crazy. The system was so broken, and they wouldn't fix it. So then the legislatures came in and they fixed it, but they didn't fix it as you knew there was. Because once you get the legislatures involved in something, they don't know what they're doing. And now we have this problem in Florida. Florida jumped on it early, said we're going to let NIL, but we're not going to let the schools be part of it. And then every other state said, oh, we're going to let schools be part of it. You can direct it. And now we're at a disadvantage. Now we're changing that law. But so now our schools can be involved directly in the NIL like every other school.
I think always legislative, sometimes when they get involved, they have great intent.
Of course.
I mean, I think they did at the beginning, and
it was great intent.
I was happy that we're on the edge of doing it, but now they've got to examine it. And like you said, they've got to fix it. And they probably will. They'll,
I think that bill actually has passed. So this year they'll be able to, or it may have already been enacted. But I know this: Florida State's NIL has gotten so much better over the last year, and now teams are doing like recruiting NIL and retention NIL. You have to retain the players that you get
with the portal.
With the portal, because they can all leave. And they can all go to romance with other schools and there was one offensive lineman from Georgia that went to FSU, and it was all reported that he was going to transfer to FSU. And then all he was doing was trying to get more money from Georgia. So then Georgia came up with more NIL and he stayed. So people get mad at the players for doing that. I don't know why.
I mean, if you're maximizing, you have a short window of life in college ball. And if you're trying to maximize for whatever you're doing, who's the one kid that played basketball for Gonzaga that got a ton of NIL money? And if he would have gone in the NBA, he would
Timmy?
Timmy.
He was there for like 8 years.
Yeah. He would have.
He was making more money in college than he would in the NBA.
Yeah, he would have made in the developmental because that's where they had him slotted. So I don't blame him.
No.
I would have stayed there and maximized my dollars and enjoy it and live a great college lifestyle. You remember what it was like to live in college town?
Well, I've always said this, and I learned this. I covered Tim Duncan when he was at Wake Forest, and Tim Duncan could have left early a couple of times, but decided to stay because he loved college. He loved the college experience. He loved hanging out with his buddies, and he's and he said this to me. He said, I guarantee you, if players could get paid in college, they wouldn't go to the NBA early, and the NBA doesn't want them, and they don't want to take these young kids because they have to play them too early, and you've got older players that are better, but if you draft them, you got to play them, so it messes up what they're doing. And the players themselves, the young players, they leave because they have to, because you got to get the money while it's there. So and I've always said, especially with NIL now, you can do this, is like let the teams draft the players as a high school player, whatever. And then the player can decide when he wants to go to the NBA. The team can decide. And most of those players would stay in college if they were getting paid.
I think that's a good thing.
Because they love the college experience.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
That's a good thing about the NIL, because then it also, what I always fear for the players is risk of injury.
Yeah.
Think of how many players you can name off the top of your head that didn't play pro because they got a severe injury in their college days. Yeah. So if they could offset that risk of injury by some of that NIL, get like a disability policy that would cover them for being a pro athlete, especially anybody, if I'm a first round draft choice, and I know I'm going to go first round, and I'm leaving early. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why did I go to college? So I can eventually make a living. If I can make a living today, that's crazy money. I'm gone.
Well, Jared Verse, who the FSU got through the portal, became a superstar edge rusher. He was projected to be a top 10 pick and decided to come back to Florida State. I've never seen that before. And he, played in a bowl game. I've never seen that before. I don't know what but FSU was clearly paying him a lot of money to stay. Maybe not as much as he would make in the NFL, but so there's you have to now create a culture on your campus, and I think FSU has done a great job of it because all these players are talking about it. Oh, it's a great family atmosphere. We want to play. We play for each other, this, that, and the other. And that's important because to retain players, you got to keep them happy. Now, they just lost a couple in the portal because, it's a curse and it's a blessing because when you see guys leaving, talented guys leaving, it's because there's no room for him. There's too many great receivers at FSU. Michael Pittman's going someplace else. So it is a delicate dance that these coaches have to do right now, and I don't envy them.
And it also gives players other opportunities. You've got players that go to Alabama and Georgia that are second or third string. They're never going to see that field.
Right.
Whereas if they transfer, they may get that year of blossoming, that different coach, that relook, that they're going to get at different stools. And trust me, if I'm Florida or whatever, I'm looking at Georgia and Alabama, Florida State. So I'm looking at Georgia, Alabama roster.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at every other roster because we don't have that. It's now a national recruiting. Back in the day when we were young, you could just recruit in the state of Florida, and you were going to get your players. Miami, Florida State, Florida were dominant for years. Now we're competing against USF, FIU.
They'll come in and take them. Alabama takes all the Florida kids. Georgia,
And because it's also social media and stuff has changed. You can get sites on kids that schools have never seen before because it's much cheaper for them to recruit these ways. It's a national recruiting thing, and that's now that I'll give Napier credit. He recognized that, and he's got a lot more coaches than we've ever had. So they're doing more touch points with these kids, which I think is required.
I've always wondered, how much emphasis, because when Florida State went away from recruiting, it was funny when they went through their 14-year dynasty. They were recruiting mostly Florida players early on, and as they got a bigger national profile, they started bringing in players from other. He's the number one recruit from Pennsylvania. He's the number one recruit from California. He's the number one. Chris Ricks is a perfect example of that. He was terrible quarterback, but he was the number one. And when we started going away from Florida players, is when Florida State started to take a nosedive. I still think even if you're a national program like Miami, Florida State, and Florida are, you should still be hunkered down and get at least 80 to 85% of your players from Florida. Florida, Georgia, in the South.
I think Napier is trying to do that. I think,
he's doing a great job.
I think FSU's coach is going back to basics, which is get the Florida recruits. What are the three for football? Let's just talk football, and it's for most sports.
Yeah.
The three best states to recruit from are Florida, Texas, and California.
Yeah.
They're the three biggest populations.
Yeah.
And still have football programs. I mean, some states, if you're playing 6-on-6 in some small Texas school, you're not getting the same experience as they are when they're playing nationally ranked programs and things like that. I don't think it's bad to get the number one recruit from, Pennsylvania or whatever, but you've got to do a lot more evaluation than you've ever done in the past.
Yeah, because what kind of competition are they playing against is what I always worry about. So Scott Jeeves obviously is here, one of our great sponsors. What's going on in the legal world right now? What's the big hot issue here and here?
Well, our legislator, if you didn't know, everybody that has personal injury cases filed before a certain deadline because the legislators changed kind of the rules dramatically. And
what happened?
Basically, first party, a property damage case, they took attorney fees away. So they took that balancing act away against the insurance companies.
Oh.
So some of those cases they lowered the statute of limitations from 4 years to 2 years. They've done a lot of things in the legislature this year that are anti-plaintiff, in my opinion. But
they're pro-insurance company?
Pro-insurance company, which are making billions.
They don't happen to make any donations to those said legislatures, do they? Is there any of that going on?
I have no comment. So basically, you've got billions of dollars profit of these companies. They've been given, a kind of a relief act in our state. Now,
when they collect the 20 years we went without a major real hurricane in Florida, and they collect all those premiums, aren't they supposed to put those in a rainy day fund? And then they get a big hurricane comes, and all of a sudden they're broke. Yeah, where'd that money go?
That money got sucked out on profit. I mean,
yes,
they sucked it up profit
to the shareholders,
to the shareholders or
the CEO.
Smaller takeout companies like in the property sector. They were getting huge bonuses, and then all of a sudden they all cry poor. We can't pay it because.
And then the legislature bails them out.
It's a continuing program. Some of these smaller companies have gone to FIGA, things like that. It's a multi-pronged attack, and I just don't agree with all the things they did.
How does it affect the consumer, the plaintiff in your case? If you're involved in an accident now, how does it affect you?
I think for everyday accident, I think you've got plenty of attorneys out there, and those cases have been traditionally taken where you're taking a percentage or whatever you get on a settlement. So I don't think that is going to be as affected. Where I'm more worried about is you got a homeowner's claim and your contractor comes out and says it's $20,000 and the insurance company says, no, I'm going to only offer you $5,000. You've got no lever or mechanism to bridge that gap by not getting your fees paid forward.
Right.
You've got people with hurricane claims down in Fort Myers that are still,
I heard about this.
That are not paid. At this point, I think it's the saddest thing in the world.
And what is your recourse if you call an attorney? Say somebody says, and I heard this. There's this was an actual case. A friend of mine down in Fort Myers, the adjuster came in and said you have about $200,000 worth of damage, and the insurance company came back and said, well, we'll give you $27,000. That's what we think the repairs should cost. And they're like, no, we're not accepting that. And they said, well, you either accept it or take us to court. Meanwhile, the rain is coming through your roof. You don't have $200,000 to fix your roof.
It causes
you're almost forced to take a lower settlement. If you're in that situation, what do you do?
I think you get an attorney, you take it partial, you take some of that money, you tarp your place up, you do the best you can to seal it. But the problem is with those hurricane force winds when they came down, when all that water is coming in, everything in the inside of the house is destroyed.
It's toast, yeah.
And in some cases, I got a case right now where we've had, I'm working with Lexi Cotton with my firm. A tree came down the middle, broke the foundation. The insurance company hasn't offered to pay the limits yet, so we're in litigation with them going, hey, guys, I know you think this house is fixable, but the city has condemned the house. They're going to make us tear it down.
Right.
There's no debate here.
Right.
But what it is, and I think it's kind of sad, insurance companies' models, I think, is a delay, deny, defend.
Exactly, yes.
Especially over if they can weed out people. If they can weed out people of 70% won't do anything or won't go hire that attorney, that's what's happening. And that's happening in Fort Myers, that people are just not realizing, look, I need to take advantage, use an attorney, do the things I need to do to get myself back to whole. And what I don't like going forward is, JP, you come in and say it's $10,000, and I'm saying they offered me $2,500. What do? I'll be like, we're going to have to measure this out, and we're going to have to do some things strategic-wise that we're going to have to offer to settle for like $7,500 so that we can get my attorney fees in play if they want to play this kind of game, so that you're not getting, totally zapped out. It's horrible. I think hopefully when this cleans through a little bit, maybe the legislator will put a Bill of Rights in
for the people.
For the people.
Yes.
Or what I think was such a drastic. We've had our first party, your insurance company attorney fees for 130 years.
Right.
So that kind of made David for Goliath. It kind of balanced it out. Now it's gone the exact opposite, which is sometimes when legislators fix things, you remember they got that first try, just like NIL.
Right.
Hey, there's a real problem here. We want to fix it.
Right.
Now, hopefully in a few years, they'll come back and look at it and say, look, we now skewed it too far. Now we need to bring some of these things back.
So if you hire an attorney in the past, your attorney's fees would be covered. The insurance company would have to cover your fees.
Yeah, if you won.
If you won.
Yep.
And now you still have to pay your own fees.
You have to pay your own fees, but there's some things in the law that you can do to put the fees back on them.
Right.
But it's not one way. It used to be a one-way provision.
Right.
Now it's not. So, they've done
that's certainly not helping the people.
I think it's anti-consumer, but there's an agenda, and remember the system was abused in some respects.
Yes,
there was abuse in all systems, so I think it's just an overreaction to the abuse in the system.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, Florida had to do a total reset on its NIL stuff because this quarterback debacle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they've got to get in to advise and do and really work through it. And think of that and like you said, you want to build a family atmosphere. That's what FSU's doing.
Yep.
Hopefully Florida's doing that. Hopefully Miami. I love it when all the teams are good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tease. I root for FSU except for when they're playing Florida.
Exactly.
I want all my Florida teams to be awesome because I want to say, hey, we beat you when you were undefeated.
Right, exactly.
And you want to say the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if we're having a bad season, but you guys are undefeated, we beat you. At least we salvage our season. That's our bowl game. So those are the enjoyable things. Do you think FSU, are they going to eventually be moving from the ACC?
Yeah, they're going to be. Well, you guys don't want us in the SEC, so that you keep blocking our way to the SEC.
Hey,
I think back in the day, I was actually working in Tallahassee when that whole thing went down, when everybody thought the FSU was going to the SEC, and I'll never forget the whole SEC people came in, and with Coach Bowden, and I think Hootie was our AD at the time. And they came in and they were just like, there was this whole arrogant attitude of we might let you in. We're not really sure. And we're not going to get any shares of any of the the big money for about 5 years. And then we'll start trickling in some money. And at FSU, they left and FSU was like, what the hell was that? Like, and then the ACC is like throwing stuff at us. No, please come here. We'll give you everything. And we did the decision that was probably best for us at the time. But now, FSU belongs in the SEC, and I think that's going to be the Super Football Conference.
They play SEC schools anyways, and the problem is I don't know if SEC can take them right now with taking in Texas and Oklahoma, which is going to dramatically change the landscape yet again. I don't, think like you said, it's hard. Like if you're a 8-3 team in the SEC, you're like major eligible for a bowl because you played Alabama, you played Georgia, you played LSU, you've gone through all these teams, and it's a tough program right now.
I don't know how the realignment's going to go, but I think eventually we're going to have super conferences. We're going to probably have 6 super conferences with 16 teams each, and there's going to be a true playoff. You win your division, get in a championship game. It's very NFL-like, I think, is what you're going to see in these conferences. And whether FSU goes into maybe it will be the SEC and maybe they'll fold into the Big Ten. I don't know which way it's going to go, but I would hope it would stay in the Southeast. That's I don't want to. I'd rather be playing those schools around us, and just think of the road trips
and stuff like that. And you guys will eventually. It would make most sense to be in the SEC, just given where it is. But the SEC right now, how many divisions do they come in, or do we do 2 simple divisions, and then who are we bringing with you?
Yeah,
because we want at least 1 or 2 teams to come in.
It'll be Clemson. I mean, FSU and Clemson look like SEC programs. You know, and they just do. They're big schools. They're in that. Miami's different. It's a private school. It's a smaller school. To me, they're more of a Big Ten, type school. If they were going to, if the ACC was going to lose some teams, so I think Clemson and FSU were more SEC like. But we'll see how it all goes down.
Yeah.
I would like to. I think at this point that's where they belong.
I think
the natural evolution.
I think
of it.
those are the natural targets for the SEC at next. It's got to be. But it's all. But it's about money. How much is your old buyout?
Well, that's the problem right now.
What's your years?
The SEC is getting what 30 to 35 million more than the ACC is paying out per year. And for FSU, that's impossible to.
That's an impossible. Well, it's like
can't compete.
It's like the Premier League in soccer.
Right.
Premier League is so much more money than every other league.
Yeah,
and that's where the SEC is going.
Yeah,
competing against the Big Ten.
Yeah, and money is now this money, and it doesn't necessarily go right into NIL, but it does. It all goes into the same pot. If you're not spending it on players, you're spending it on facilities. So it's all or coaches or whatever. So it all goes into the same pot. And if the SEC salary cap is $35-40 million higher, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time
competing.
Yeah. And FSU gave away their rights till 2090 or whatever the hell it is, and they're trying to figure out a way how to get out of it. But, a lot of lawyers, a lot of legal fees. You need to get into that business. A lot of legal fees trying to figure out that deal.
Getting programs out of contracts. I don't know. That's a specialty. That's a big tab. They're going to be some billing on that.
Oh, heck yeah. And some deep pockets, too.
They got to be.
Definitely a place to go. Well, Scott, thanks so much for coming in, and we really appreciate your sponsorship for our show, and the people do as well. They really appreciate you doing it.
Keep the good product up there for everybody.
Hey, we know what we're much like you. We're talking truth to power. We're the show of the people, and that's what you do. You represent them against these bigger companies and try to give them a fighting shot. And that's kind of our same DNA. We're the same. We're the little dogs just kind of barking at the big dogs, trying to keep them.
Trying to keep them honest.
It's what we're doing. It's what we're doing.
I actually think we're a little bit of the bigger dogs trying to bark at the other bigger dogs.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I would say that too. But there's a lot of big money out there. There's no doubt about that. All right, Scotty. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Nick's going to get us out of the show here as we come to a close. Appreciate it. All right, thank you guys for joining us as well today. And we got Rays baseball coming up this afternoon, I believe, right? We got an afternoon game, so go Rays to that. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit more Lightning and Buccaneers too. We're going to talk some NFC South. We're going to have Saints and Carolina representatives on tomorrow to talk about their draft and see how they did. And we look forward to it's going to be one hell of an NFC South race this year. And we try to get Scott Reynolds on tomorrow from the Pewter Report. So our thanks to Scott Jeeves for everything. Thank you guys so much for your sponsorship, and always good fun talking Gator football with you, Bob. Thanks for coming. You guys stick around for a little bit. We'll have a chat here afterwards. And we'll be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. We will see you then.